Hey, what's been good about your day? Hope everything's going all right with you. We're going to continue on in Heaven Changes Everything by Todd and Sonja Burpo. We're on chapter 35. It's called Dad, Jesus Told Me to Tell You. No matter what new tidbits he revealed, though, Colton had one constant theme. He talked constantly about how much Jesus loves the children. I mean, constantly. He would wake up in the morning and tell me, "Hey Dad, Jesus told me to tell you he really loves the children." Over dinner at night, "Remember, Jesus really loves the children." Before bed, as I helped him brush his teeth, "Hey Daddy, don't forget," he'd say, garbling the words through a mouthful of toothpaste foam. "Jesus said he really loves the children." Sonja got the same treatment. So Todd says, Colton came back from heaven with an urgent message for me. Jesus had told him to tell us that he loves the children. To be honest, if it had been anyone else sending us that message, I might have thought, duh, I know that. There are lots of places in the Bible where Jesus showed us how important children are to him. But Colton's emphasis wasn't on the message. It was on me. This is how he said it. "Dad, Jesus told me to tell you he really loves the children." Sonja has always had a huge heart for children's ministries. It's her passion. But when Colton came back from heaven with this message from Jesus directly to me, I had to take some time to consider just what Jesus wanted me to do with it. While Sonja has been a kind of hands-on children's worker, I've been the one overseeing everything, if you want to put pastoring a church in business terms. The children's ministry was a part of my job, but it sure wasn't the priority. But then came that personal message delivered by Colton, and I knew I needed to pray for guidance so I would know the best work to do in response to do it. Gradually it became clear to me I couldn't be a preacher who focuses just on the adults. Let me step back a minute and give you a little background. As I grew up, two preachers had very different influences on my life. I grew up in a small church with a weekly attendance of 70 to 80 tops. The pastor of that church acted as if he was really important, so parents ran interference between him and the children in the church. We kids weren't supposed to bother him. Then, when I was 12, my family visited a church with more than 1,000 people in attendance. The second Sunday we attended, I was standing by myself in the crowded foyer, surrounded by many more people than I'd ever seen anywhere. Suddenly someone called my name and said, "Todd, I'd like to meet you." It was the pastor of that huge church. I had no clue how he knew my name, but there he was, talking to me as though I was the most important person in the room. Several people came up, obviously wanting to talk to him, but he said, "Sorry, I can't talk to you right now. I'm talking to Todd." When my parents saw the pastor talking to me, they thought, "Oh no, what did he do?" I have to admit, alarm was the more common response for them when they saw me being addressed by someone in authority. It's got to be obvious which pastor showed me that I mattered, and it made me feel most special. As I thought about the message Colton brought to me from heaven, I knew God wanted me to be that kind of pastor. It's not just being a preacher in a church that welcomes children. It's about everything that I am. I try to make kids feel special and important. We wrote the kids' version of Heaven is for Real, hoping to convince all the children who read it that they matter and that Jesus really loves them. Sonja and I have been all over the country since the book was published, making a point to speak to children's workers, encouraging them and urging them, don't quit. Don't give up. What you do is one of the most important things in the church today. Sometimes I look at what has happened in the years since Colton visited heaven and came back to deliver the message from Jesus. And I think this must be how the Apostle Peter felt when Jesus told him to get out of the boat and walk across the water to him. I'm doing something I never thought possible, spreading Jesus' message about kids on a global level. Have you ever considered what message Jesus has for you? If your child visited heaven, would he or she come back and say, "Mommy, Jesus really loves the people who are sick and dying and wants you to take care of them"? Maybe hospice nurses hear that in their spirits. Or Daddy, those people who work in your office are alone and hurting. He really loves them, but they don't know it. Or, Sister, Jesus told me to tell you the kids in your class, those girls who are always worried about what they wear, the guys who feel they can't ever be good enough, he really loves them. Or, Brother, Jesus told me to tell you to help with teenagers. Or old people, children, the sick, the youth group. There are so many opportunities for carrying God's love to the world. The list could go on and on. Everyone's calling may be different, and each one is special. Have you let God speak to you and get your attention? When I prepare to receive my reward in heaven, I'm pretty sure Jesus is going to bring up the message he sent to me from Colton. Maybe it might sound something like this. Well, Todd, Colton did his job. He told you what I told him too. Now, what did you do with it? If Jesus loves you, and I promise you he does, he wants to use you for something important too. Maybe you won't have such an obvious message as I did, but your 4-year-old following you around the house, harassing you. But God does want to get your attention. Does he have it yet? Jesus told Colton to tell me he really loves the children. And now I'm telling you, he has a message for you too. What are you going to do with your message? What has Jesus asked you to do? This chapter leaves with Jeremiah 1:5. Before I shaped you in the womb, I knew all about you. Before you saw the light of day, I had holy plans for you. Chapter 36 is called Really Loving the Children. And he really, really loves us, Dad. You can't believe how much he loves us. Sonja says, when Colton told me again and again that Jesus loves the children, he was preaching to the choir. I've had a heart for children for a long time, about as long as I've had a heart. As a pastor's wife, I have many opportunities to serve the church, as all church members do. But if you come to church looking for me, you'll probably find me somewhere working with the kids. I've been known to say, whatever is your passion, do it until you die. Well, my passion is helping kids, and as I speak to various groups, I always begin to apologize for not being a professional speaker, and by admitting I'd rather be in the nursery right now or in the Sunday school rooms teaching the kids Bible stories instead of up here talking about myself. One of the gratifying things that has come about since Heaven is for Real was published is that a lot of people have new understanding of and appreciation for the importance of the children's ministries. The Bible tells us several times how Jesus held children in very high regard. In fact, he said, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Todd says that the part of Colton's story that has impacted him most is when he asked where Colton sat in God's throne room, and Colton answered, they brought in a little chair for me. That image was a wake-up moment for us that made everything else click. We suddenly understood that heaven is not a spiritual place where we'll float between the clouds. It's a physical, solid, tangible, real place where children are honored. Think about that. In our church sanctuaries today, we have seats and pews that are all one size, adult size. It's rare to find a church auditorium where there are child-sized pews or chairs. Although I might wish it were different, that's true in our Nebraska church too. After all, most young kids sit with their parents during church services down in the basement. Where children's classes are held, though, things are different. When we gather in Fellowship Hall for church dinners, children have tables and chairs of their own size, just for them. And the Sunday school rooms have furniture in various sizes depending on the age of the children it's intended for. Though I have to fight to keep those little tables in place. They're way too convenient for other uses. When children come into those areas, they feel welcome. Everything fits them, and they know it's their place. That's where I want to be when I'm in church, down there in the little chairs, working with the kids. In many churches, children's ministries are understaffed, undersupplied, and have no prepared curriculum. Those programs are at the bottom of the barrel, and those who work in those ministries are often overworked and overwhelmed. If you're one of them, if you're down there with me, whether you're sitting on the floor at a little church somewhere that can't afford special furniture for the kids, or in a mega church somewhere playing in a band for children's church when you'd rather be in a sanctuary worshiping with the adults, I want you to know that what you're doing is important. It's not just me telling you that. It's Jesus. I've heard some people say that churches with limited budgets, and most churches fall into that category, need to focus their funds on the adult ministries because it's the adults who provide the money the church needs to survive. That's just wrong. They're forgetting that by investing in the kids, we're investing in the future of the church. When you teach Sunday school, you're planting in those little hearts the seeds of the gospel that will carry with them throughout their lives, hopefully sharing it with others. Who knows whose children may grow up to be? Who knows who those children may grow up to be? I've heard it said, you may be the one who touches the one who changes the world. I like that. Early in Todd's ministry, we led a youth group in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. We considered the participants so much like family that we referred to them as our kids. Many of them are now in their 30s with children of their own. In the years that have followed, can you imagine how heartwarming it's been for us when some of them have asked Todd to officiate their weddings? Or how encouraging it is for us to hear that many of them are now in church leadership themselves somewhere? We are so happy that they continue to let us be a part of their lives. It tells us that the energy and love we put into those young people all those years ago have really paid off. It's a reward like no other. Today, we continue our emphasis on children in our current church. We want the kids to know they're valued. They matter. We consider them a full, accepted part of our congregation and that what we're doing is our service to the Lord. As for the money part of it, our church's practice is not to pass an offering plate during service, but to place offering boxes by the sanctuary doors. If people want to give, they can give as they pass by the box. Recently, we put up another offering box that was at kids level. That little box tells the children their contributions are valued too, whether it's a penny or a dollar. If this feels like a pep talk for children's workers, you're absolutely right. I want to be an encourager and a supporter of children's ministry workers everywhere. As we've traveled around the country, it has warmed my heart to have people tell me that because of Heaven is for Real, they've been motivated to keep on going as children's workers when they had been feeling as though they should give up. Most of them admit that their passion, like mine, is kids. They say they felt unappreciated or they felt like they weren't accomplishing anything. Then they've read Colton's story and remember who does value what they're doing down there in the basement teaching Sunday school? Jesus. And that's what matters most. But you may feel differently. Maybe you're one of those church members who gets annoyed by the noise that comes with children, or you get offended by the stains they leave behind in a perfectly clean church. If that's you, I hope you'll have the courage to reconsider. To start, maybe you'll go to one of those marks on the wall or the stain on the brand new carpet and ask yourself this question: did Jesus die to save the carpet you're standing on, or the kid who made the stain? Write a note to the children's Sunday school teachers in your church saying thank you, or volunteer to help in your church children's ministry. This chapter leaves you with Matthew 19:13-14. People brought little children to Jesus for him to place his hand on them and pray for them. But the disciples rebuked them. Jesus said, "Let the little children come to me, and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these." Well, I hope you have a great day. Make a difference today and write that thank you note. Have a great day. Take care. See you later. Bye.